All right, guys, how you doing? Ronin Man here, and I got Rick on the line, and it's the first in the series where we're going to try to something I've never heard before is really uncover the madness and the complicit. What do you call it? Complicity, whatever. Fucking the way that
That's
guys
it.
play along with this whole thing in marriage, and like how it can be so miserable, but we still allow it to happen, and we actually kind of like create like a safe zone for this shit, whereas inside it's like just fighting and terrible and things changing and disappointment after disappointment, and like you feel like you would never put up with this when you're young, and then you get into it, and like what is the spider's web that keeps us in there, and how do we really feel about it? And this is not a bravado episode. This is like we really want to get into the fucking meat of it, and this is about guys. It's really about us more than the girls. It's like how we react and
Sure.
how we are. So, hey, Rick, how you doing?
Yeah, I tell you, I'm on top of the world, and I'm here to help. So I hope a lot of the guys hear what I have to say. My story's probably not that different from the rest of the global men's society, and hope it helps.
Dude, when I talk to friends and when anybody calls me, or we had our global summit, I meet people in person and they start to tell me the situation. I'm always amazed at the difference between, you know what I mean, kind of like looking at them as a man and then hearing the stories of what they actually put up with and the way it actually is in their life. That always blows me away, that dichotomy. It's like there's this guy in front of me who seems very rational, very smart, you know and like if he wouldn't put up with a shitty job. He doesn't want to be he doesn't want to work for a scam company. He doesn't want to be in a dangerous, he has priorities and he's a logical man. But when it comes to relationships, all of a sudden, like once he gets in, it's like, I don't know, like let's talk about it. Let's talk. How could you what would you put your relationship, how many years ago was this?
Yeah, so I would say the beginning of the end of it all started in 2011, and I had been married to this girl that I met when she was really young for a little bit over 20 years, and I was technically separated for 5, and I'm a unicorn, I guess. I had custody of the kids in the house, and I had her move to another place, and that went on for 5 years. I officially got divorced 2 years ago, and I will tell you that in terms of like I strategized the shit out of my plan for the 5 years of being a single dad and separated, and I stayed away from women. And Ronan, man, what you said a minute ago is, how do guys who are in every other area of their life on top of the game get fucking trapped by that stuff? And I'm one of them. So
Absolutely. It's so common. That's the thing. That's why I can't believe no one is talking about this, like the real guts of it, fuck. I mean, what was it like just the day, like I guess it's kind of good, I think, always to do is to look back. How did you look at her when you first met her? Like, do you remember what you thought when you saw her? Did you think like this girl's going to be really sweet to me? She gave me this like whatever seat covers for my car, and I thought she was really sensitive, and she gave me a jacket. How did you see her in the beginning? Were there any warning
yeah.
signs that the relationship was not going to be good, or what was going on in your mind in the beginning, kind of middle, kind of like, and then after that, what kind of like, how did you see her? And then like, here's the thing. Here's what I think is the interesting part is like, we can have like, let's say we see a girl and you think, oh man, this girl is like, maybe a certain way, right? She's like not very experienced sexually.
Yeah.
Then you find out that she's actually super fucking overly, you know what I mean? And then you're like, somehow your
Yeah.
brain doesn't remember the way you used to think or why you are with her, or, like, it's just like, you just kind of like
Yeah.
accept the new reality that you didn't really want. It's not that there's anything wrong with that. I mean, I think it doesn't matter, but it depends on why you're choosing that person, right? It's like a car, right? Every car is
Yeah.
great, but it just depends on why you're buying that car. You want to have a sports car because you want to, you know what I mean? You want to drive fast, or you want to do something for clients or whatever, You buy a camper because you want
Yeah.
to, it's like you make decisions based on what you want to do, right? And so you choose a certain girl based on your own flavor and your tastes and all that. And then you find out she's not like that. It's like, why do we, what, and it can even get like worse and worse and worse. So tell me about your mindset when you saw her, you looked in her face the first time or the early times. How did you see her?
Yeah. It's funny. All the points you just made, I'll tell you that I can tell you the responses to all of them with clarity because I've had this, really like a 7-year, I'm 7 years into a brand new life and evolving, and being out of a marriage gave me time to I took responsibility for getting myself in that sorry ass situation instead of just like, well, like pointing the finger at her and saying, you did this, you did that, that's fucking immoral. Instead, I said, how the fuck did I put myself out in the highway to get run over like this? But to your questions, to go back to the beginning, so I was in my 20s, and I'll give you the background. And I had been very successful in terms of the things that guys typically do. I went from a upper middle class existence, and then at age 10 got thrown into a lower middle class, maybe just above poor class. And so when I was in high school, I realized that the only way I'm going to get out of this situation is on my own. So, and I'm telling you all this for a reason. So I kind of had in my head the image of like a perfect male who was physically on top of their game, intellectually on top of their game, spiritually on top of their game. And I had always read stories about people who did amazing things with their lives. So I was influenced by a lot of people. And so I took responsibility, and one thing was sports was an avenue out for poor guys. And I realized academically that I probably was going to have to pay for college for myself. So with that being said, I really worked on developing myself, much like I did the last 7 years. So when I was in college, I was on top of the fucking world, kicking ass. I had a part-time job. I was doing great in my studies. I was, in terms of my relationships with women, it was one of those things. You're a young teenage guy, and they're completely available all the time. The school I went to was 9 girls to 1 guy ratio. So I just kind of thought it was a freebie. Women were always just there. And what I didn't realize is every interaction, every girl I had a fling with, it was all in the honeymoon period. They were all young. They were in school. They had no cares in the world. So everybody's in a good mood. And so I kind of thought relationships were easy peasy. You just kind of look at someone, they look at you, you go over and say hi, and everything flows from there.
Yeah.
So,
I think that's that's a good way to describe it. A good way to describe it, because that's kind of like how, in some ways, that's kind of how life is. Like making a friend. It's not that complicated, right? Starting a business, it's not like super complicated. But with relationships, sometimes you find out later you did not know some very key information, about that person's
Dude,
mindset.
I didn't know shit.
Yeah.
I just thought there they were. They look good. Your biology's driving you. Their biology's driving them. Everything social is set up so that you interact. So, it was a great time.
Yeah.
And I'm giving you all this background, not to, I don't know, it's not like bragging or anything like that. It's to give you an idea of what my mindset was. So how I got into my relationship with the woman that became my wife, coming out of that world.
Right. So I got the background. Go a little bit faster, but yeah, I got it. You basically were like very pull yourself by the fucking bootstraps. You're like, I'm going to do this myself. I want to be a balance.
Yeah.
I want to be physically, financially, spiritually, and also in relationships, I want to be like a good man. Like you had that kind of eye on the ball. I by the way, when I was young, I did not have all that. No way.
Yeah, and I know your story because I've listened to every single video over and over again.
Wow.
Um, oh yeah, I mean, dude, I know your life story because it's in all the videos, and
Right.
it's truly amazing.
Fuck. Thanks, man. Thanks.
So,
Let's hear yours.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, you're welcome. So anyway, so fast forward, now I'm in my 20s, and I kind of I didn't realize this at the time, but I was kind of going through a depression, which goes back to my parents splitting up, and I was living over in the Far East, and I got sent to the U.S. to live with my mom, and I didn't like it, and I kind of just all that stuff I already told you I was doing, but I had this kind of time bomb inside of me, and I was depressed, and at that age I didn't know you could talk to people. I thought you did everything on your own. Anything you got, you just busted your balls and got. I didn't know. My dad was over in Vietnam and in different parts of the world. So what that meant was all of a sudden I see this girl. I'm working in this company. And I see this girl walk by, and I'm like, oh man, she's hot. And cute as a button. And I see her over in her office. I see her name tag, and it's this name that I know. It's this girl that used to live on my street. Or so I thought. There's just a different girl with the same name as a girl that lived on my street, and they even looked alike. So I was talking to her, and I'm like, hey, I haven't seen you in years. And she's like, I don't know you. And I'm like, really? I'm like, you're Michelle, right? And she's like, yeah. And she's like, wait a minute. She asked me what town I'm from, and I tell her, and she's like, you're thinking of the other one. And I'm like, oh, okay. So anyway, the reason I picked her out of the rest was I was kind of ripe for it. I was kind of having these feelings that it'd be nice to have a family and kids. And what I didn't realize then, which I can see now, is that it was kind of my own personal longing for family, because mine had blown up at age 10. And I kind of felt like I always felt less than a lot of other people because they had two parents and they lived in a house and I lived in an apartment.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
I kind of thought that I could make up for things I didn't have and put myself on equal footing if I had a wife and a relationship and kids. Then I'd be like, hey, I'm part of this. I belong here.
Let me ask you. Let me ask you this. This is a really great story. Would you say, like looking back, like really honestly with yourself, do you think that making up for things, was that for showing people, or was that for yourself inside?
It was a combination of both. And because, I talked about a little bit of depression. I always had kind of the chip on the shoulder, like, I wasn't originally from here. Everybody was more well off. So I kind of devalued myself. And I also felt like in eyes of other people, if I did this, got married and all, I would have more value to other people, including my own family members. And the other thing is, I think that, you kind of sold the idea, we're these little kids. We're completely malleable, and at any social belief system, you're born into it. So you just accept it. It's programmed into you by your parents you even said this in somewhere I saw you said that marketing played a huge role in who you are. And, now I look back and I say, damn right, because we're marketed to all the time. We just don't know it. You're watching like the monkeys on TV, and every commercial's showing you something that they want you to think is how it should be.
Well,
And, Brady Bunch.
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, fuck yeah. Oh, yeah. What got me thinking that was I watched a video of a rock star who I really respected, and they had this video of him like really singing in real life, and it was like, I was like, fuck, he's not a very good singer. Like, you know what I mean? It was kind of bullshit, right? So I grew up thinking he's the greatest guy, right? And I was like, man, that guy was really nothing, Holy crap,
Yeah, Yeah. So, dude, here I am thinking you're supposed to be successful, to have value, to have worth. You're supposed to be married and you're supposed to have a family. And, all these women, I went to my school was 9-1 women to guys. So they're always looking to get married. They're always looking for the right guy to take care of them and fit into the slot of their pre-programmed belief system. So
Hey, listen.
there I was.
I got to interrupt you. I just got this
Yeah.
weird message from Zoom. It says I only have 10, I guess probably 9 minutes left for a free meeting. They're starting to charge for these things. So we can either do it two ways. We can go super fast or we can call again, whichever works.
Let's call again.
Okay.
I feel like I can help people better if I have more time.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah. So, I meet this girl and, she seems to have like similar beliefs of like family and things of the heart. I saw in her and I thought, wow, that's really admirable.
Just let's get into that real quick. What was the thing specifically that she did that made you think that? Because a lot of the things that you think are the girl you're dating are actually from some girl's magazine. So like one girl made me a sweater and I was like blown away. I could not believe it. She knitted me a sweater and I was like really touched, and it was my birthday. And then the next day, some other girl brought a sweater that she made. And then the next week, a third girl brought a sweater, which was the worst sweater of all. But either way, I got 3 sweaters that year. And I found out that in the Japanese magazines that year, they had been saying, you should, show that you love him, make something, and so it wasn't really like, I think it's very different if someone tells you to do something, you read it on Google, as if you actually do it yourself because you want to, right? A lot of the stuff that tricks us into marriage, tricks us into thinking that they really care is just some standard thing that like is passed along as wisdom. Like, do this little thing, like I remember one girl, she swallowed, and she said, "Oh, it tastes so good." And I knew she was lying, I really knew because her personality, and I said like later, like I knew her for years, I said, how did you, why did you do that? And she said, oh, I read that the guys really value that. And I was like, luckily I was able to spot it, but it's not that I don't mind if people study and become better and do things that are attractive. That's fine. But it's different when you're making a lifelong commitment, based on something that you think that she did and she didn't even actually do it. That's the crazy thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's a lot of social conditioning on both sides for sure. And, the things that like attracted me were she seemed to have this like heartfelt love for just the simple things of family get-togethers and, not like the flashy, like Hollywood type things. She just seemed beautiful, absolutely physically beautiful, down to earth. And I thought, well, she has a really good heart. And, I was probably partially right about that, but, all the things in the dark side, that they were there, but I chose to overlook them because I think I had a desperate longing for stability and a family. So it was like a train wreck on its way. And I just fucking kept pushing down on the accelerator, heading towards the train wreck. And
so you thought that you somehow, can you remember a specific thing she did, or you think that she like that then, or do you see through it now, or what's your take on it now?
Yeah, I saw the signs then, but I think that I self-hypnotized myself into believing certain things, like because I had worked so hard to make something of myself. I thought everybody did that. I thought that if somebody was fucking up in some area, but you're together and you love each other, that these things will naturally correct themselves, that you'll both grow. But what I didn't understand is her demons, I wasn't going to correct them. It was going to be up to her if it was ever going to happen. I choose to buy her, with those flaws. And an example would be, she was a fucking nutcase jealous. I mean, like off the charts jealous, like who you talking to, like you got home 5 minutes later than normal. We were out banging some girl in the car, getting jealous of like if a hot girl was on TV or walking down the street. I mean, that's just one thing. And kind of, you ever hear the term gaslighting?
I've heard it, but I don't know what it means, to be honest.
Yeah, it's from an old movie, and it's like when somebody convinces somebody else that they're crazy by denying reality. So like she would say things to me, and it happens a lot when people split up or like someone's cheating on someone. The one who gets cheated on will say, I saw you in the car with that girl. And the guy will say to her, you didn't see my car. My car was never there. It was in the shop. And then the girl who gets cheated on will kind of want to believe it. So she'll say, oh, okay. So, you know, you'll begin to doubt your own senses and doubt your own reality. That's when someone does that to you, they're gaslighting you. That's the term. And I fell for that. You know, she would say shit to me, and I'd try to like take it apart and say, well, these things you said mean this, and this is a better way to view it, and so forth. And she'd say, I didn't say that. And I literally would, you know, I have a great memory, and I'm like, I heard that, but I chose to like just eat those things. So I kept, bottom line, I kept devaluing myself.
You're not saying what she did exactly. What did she do that she had to cover up, or what did she do that she was gaslighting you on? Was she cheating, or was she
not at that time? Not at that time. It was more like she was accusing me of all kinds of infidelity and wanting other women. And, you know, she would like say, Rick, you said this at this time. And I'm like, no, I didn't.
Oh, I see.
Literally never happened.
So she's trying to make it look like you're hitting on other women and you're cheating and you're not. And like, it doesn't sound very productive from her point, but yeah. Okay. Right.
Right. So she had her own demons to fight and could not handle a mature, evolved relationship. And I had my own demons. So it was like I say, it was a train wreck. I kept accepting these things, and there was double standards. She was extremely flirtatious.
And, nice. Okay.
Yeah. And hey, dude, it's my fault. I was young. I was stupid. I fucking...
No. Don't worry about that. Just get in the specifics. What does that mean? Like we're not wearing a bra. Like, what was it? What was the specifics? Like, what was it that really
like parties paying? Yeah, you know, like parties paying too much attention to other guys, and like no. Picture this: if I talked to a woman at that time, she'd be like out of her mind, crazy, pissed.
Yeah.
But then had no problem like talking to a guy long periods of times at social events and dancing and slow dancing.
Oh my God, slow dancing.
Yeah.
Whoa, hey, that's way. Yeah. Especially when you're not allowed to talk to a girl and she's slow dancing with the dude. That's what I wanted to hear. Okay, that's fucking outrageous. Yeah.
I'm being open here.
No.
I hope I can help guys because I'm a pretty evolved guy.
Yeah. No, this shit happens to guys and they get stuck in it and they can't they can't find their way out. And the thing is like this kind of shit is not easy to talk about, you know? So I appreciate you saying it because this is the kind of stuff guys go through and they can't talk about it because they feel like, well, if I talk about this, then it shows that like she is kind of cheating or you kind of don't want the girl that you're with to be looked down upon or, you know what I mean? You don't want to talk bad about her, right? You know, like for no reason.
Yeah.
And at the same time,
and, you know, I would kind of cover for her bad behavior.
Right. You don't want it to be true either. So you're like, well, maybe it wasn't true. You know, maybe slow dancing when I can't talk to girls. Maybe that's just normal or, you know, like your brain gets all, I can totally see that. Oh man.
And, you know, I always weighed this thing in my mind. Like even back then, if I push for my boundaries, you know, I'm just one of the many, probably millions of guys that, for whatever reason, would overlook bad behavior, kind of make excuses for it. And there were things driving it too. Like, I didn't want to fail in my relationship, and I thought that would look really bad. And I didn't want to admit.
Okay, but I just want to deconstruct these. So failure means basically that like I define failure different than other people. So failure to me is two miserable people. That's failure, you know. Whereas most people define failure as if your friends and family and Facebook know, right? That's failure to most people. Like a failed relationship is when you know, sign the divorce decree, and then you guys are, you know, you're separated, right? To me, failure
Yeah.
is not like that at all. Not at all. So failure is much simpler, right? It's like two absolutely miserable people. That's right there. That's, you don't need, it doesn't matter if anybody knows. It's none of anybody's business. It's like it's failed. It's two people are in hell. Like there's nothing else you can, you know. I guess it is worse if everybody knows, because we are social creatures, and we do, you know, we do ping off other people, and we do care about our parents, and, you know, things like that. But essentially, a failed job is when you're sitting there thinking, I hate this job, right? You know what I mean? It's another
Yeah.
thing to be unemployed. I guess I shouldn't say it's the only way to look at it, but it's like, it's the crucial thing, right?
Yeah.
And
I
and
would
I
say
also,
by your definition,
yeah,
absolute failure in many ways. And by the definition also of just public failure, you know, so there was all kinds of
let me
fears.
dig in a little deeper. I know it's a little sensitive, I'm sure.
Hmm.
Did she ever
Yeah,
go
no problem.
farther? Did she ever go farther than slow dancing? Like, did you see any specifics? It's those specifics that get us. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I would say as years went by, yes. And like, okay, she had a friend she worked with, and she would go do stuff with. It was a dude, and um, you know, I was so, I guess, unevolved at the time. And it is very painful. It's painful to fucking say this shit, man. I'll
Oh,
tell
I
you.
know, I
You,
know.
you know, because, you know, she didn't trust me with women and this and that. And then she had this friend she worked with, and she'd go off and do stuff with him. And I allowed this double standard. So I, you know, it was really weak. And looking back, once I figured all this shit out, now I'm a different guy. I look back, I'm like, yeah, she probably banged this dude, you know? And
Right, right.
I've
So you
seen
never found
a
out.
few other. Yeah, I mean, eventually that is what happened. She, not that guy, but I eventually, you know, she got in a relationship with another guy, which I mentioned to you as someone in my family. So,
Oh
you
man.
know,
Oh
eventually it
fuck.
came out.
You know, I
Yeah,
think.
dude, I had the ultimate.
Yeah. Oh God. You know, then you have like repercussions in so many ways. I think there's
Yeah,
different things that. One thing I don't like about the way society looks at relationships, especially with guys now, is that kind of what guys think is not important. So if a guy doesn't like, for example, his girl to be slow dancing with another guy, he's immediately attacked. Attacked. Whatever. He's dismissed. You're jealous. Whatever the thing is. And
yeah,
I got to preface this with that I'm not the jealous type of guy. Like I'm definitely not that type. But still, we all have
me
feelings.
either.
We all have feelings, right? We all have
Yeah,
emotions, and there's things that you like, and there's things that you don't like, right? And your girl slow dancing with another guy is something that I don't like. Like of all the things, that's not good because I mean, one, I just have an emotional, visceral reaction to it. I don't like it, right? Why be together, right? But also I know for myself is if I get physically too close to somebody, it's like, like I don't even like I've said many times on the thing, I'm sure you heard, I don't like prostitutes at all. Like I just have always
right.
been totally disgusted by any escorts, prostitutes, anybody who's a professional. Like that just to me is like really like I'm not into it. And I never have been, even when I was like super young. It's just like something that,
Right.
and they don't like me either. That's the funny thing. Those kind of professional women, they can spot me a mile
Yeah.
away, which is funny
Yeah.
because,
No, I get it.
okay. So
Hmm.
yeah. But the thing is like, I noticed is if one, and this has happened to me a couple times in my life, comes right up to me and gets close to me and gets
Mm.
physically on me, it can get dangerous because then I'm in another state. Like I'm almost in the reptile brain.
Yeah.
So as
Yeah.
long as
I
she's
get
not
it.
touching me, I'm fine. But if
Right.
some very smart, very smooth girl comes up to me, even if she's a professional, and she gets on me in a certain way, I'm almost helpless, and I know it. So it's like I also stay away from that because I don't want to be in that situation for real. But if your girl is allowing that to happen. She's also human, and he's also human. And so
Yep.
you're basically like, when you're slow dancing, it's basically like the relationship's over as far as I'm concerned. Like, which is fine. Like, walk away, but it's pretty much over. Like, it's not there anymore. Like, there's no more intimate relationship when she's slow dancing with other guys, you know. And and
Yeah.
especially in front of you. Like, that's just fucking, you know, not to me. That's not cool. Now, a lot of guys would get off on that. So I'm not saying it's like the rule or anything.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. Like, I would not have slow danced with another woman because, to me, what you just described, it's almost like a sex act in slow motion. It's like Tai Chi is sex. You know, it's just slow and groove.
Right,
And
right.
it literally would have meant that I was, you know, not that I mean, I can spot, obviously, I see other women and like think to myself, well, she's hot, but I wouldn't do anything to, I guess, pursue that, because I truly believed at the time that, you know, when you commit to someone, that you made this big spiritual commitment and you were supposed to be on the same page. So I wouldn't have slow danced with women at that time.
Oh, you know what?
So when she did.
Yeah, let me just interrupt you real quick. I just thought of something, man. Fuck, I just thought of something. I was at a wedding. I'm not going to say where, who, whatever. But I was at a wedding, and the bride grabbed me and, you know, started slow dancing with me at the wedding, right? It was kind of like this part of she was dancing with everybody, her dad and everybody, right? But she grabbed me.
Right.
And when she did, I'm pretty intuitive with girls. Like, she was basically trying to turn me on. You know, she was the bride, and she was trying to turn me on, and I didn't expect it, and because I was kind of like a good friend, and like I just didn't even like, I didn't find her attractive, and there was nothing that was, you know what I mean. I was just totally standing there like a dumb guy, you know, just with my tuxedo on, right?
Yeah.
And then she grabbed me very tight and close, you know, and she kind of like took control of the dance, and I honestly, this was like 25 years ago, but I still remember it. Like, I still remember, like, we had this connection, even though I didn't want it. And it was because she deliberately pulled me close and did it. And she even looked into my eyes, and I knew she was doing it. There was no doubt about it, you know? And it's like, the power of when a girl has this, you know, I guess the slow dance really depends on the girl too, but it also depends on how smooth the guy is and all that. But it's just basically a clusterfuck, right? It's just like something that you should not be doing, you know, like, it's just, it's funny because even saying this stuff, I feel guilty saying this because life is so complicated, right? Like, you know, obviously I have a pretty wild background, but through that wild background, I've learned what really fucking counts. You know what I mean? And like, I know, like, if we hang out in Boston this summer, I know for a fact that, and I've never done this, but when I'm with, like, say, in somebody's house or hanging out with them, I remember this one scene where I was at this guy's house, and his girlfriend opened the refrigerator, and then she bent over inside with her kind of head inside the refrigerator and looked at me, and there was this fucking look, right? And he was at work, and I just fucking tore my eyes away. I got the fuck out of the house because I knew that look was going to be like, I was going to be putty in her fucking hands, right? And I never would do that to a friend. In fact, I've never done that in my life, not even once.
Yeah, I've never cheated on anyone or bird dogged any of my buddies. But that story you just told, absolutely, I get it, man. There is no mistaking those signs when the woman gives them to you. I mean, because it's visceral. It's like in your gut.
Oh,
you
man,
want to turn your eyes away from,
You're like putty in her fucking hand, you know?
Yeah.
If you allow yourself.
I mean, they're women, and, you know, it's just like biologically that they're perfectly designed for us, you know, to be attracted to. So I get that. Everyone, even if you're married, you're going to be attracted to other people because you're fucking hot. But, you know, it's who you are and what decisions you make in your life and in that marriage or relationship that determines the quality of it, I guess. And so many fucking guys get played. They get set up to be strong and take care of the woman and this and that. And the women just fuck around and send signals out to constantly monitor their value.
Right. What would you say? Just specifics are the key. What are the signals that she sent out to show that she was still looking? Like what could you, if you could just say a few of them, just like not wearing a bra, like what would be the specific things that bothered you at the time that maybe you've never even said?
Yeah, I think that she would give massive attention to other guys in terms of her time and talking to them and being open. And I would say it was flirtatious in that there was always like a little bit of a spark of like sexual tension mixed in. And so when she did it, it was, if I noticed it, it was the gaslighting thing. Oh, you're just being a fucking pussy. You don't, nothing's going on. That's just you, And I
Right.
was,
Right.
dude, as painful as it is, I ate so much of that shit for so long.
So
Because
time was the thing, like spending time when you're not there, right?
I started to compartmentalize my life. I thought that I was an awesome dad. I still am. My sons we were tight today. I did like super dad, coached sports, did all that stuff. But the thing with her is I would compartmentalize the bad behavior, and I would tell myself that we supposedly love each other, we have a family, so all these things work out over time because the evidence is always there. You're together. You're supposed to, you think you're happy together. How can things go wrong? I didn't think it was truly going to happen to me. I was shocked when I finally figured it out and was told about her banging my cousin.
What was it that you were told, and how did you figure it out? Like, fast forward up there. What?
Yeah. So I was.
Were you forced to figure it out, or was it like kind of detective work?
Okay, let me think about that for a sec. So I knew something was up. I didn't think it was that. She had been a stay-at-home mom for a long time, but now she got her career back and she was working out, looking fucking hot. And, like I could feel her pulling away.
Okay.
But I didn't know how to define it. I didn't really understand what was happening. I was perplexed, and at the same time, I'm running a company. I got my own business on the side. I'm coaching, I'm doing this and that, martial arts, everything.
Yeah.
And so, life's going by fast and the clock's ticking and I'm burning the candle and I couldn't quite place it, And, one night at a wedding, she said to me, and we came home from a wedding 7 years ago, and I said, hey, like I was going to talk to her, but inside, in my stomach, you know how you can hear your inner voice?
Yes.
Well, I literally could hear it saying to me, if you talk to her about this, she's going to leave you.
Right.
And I heard that voice.
Right. You knew she was doing it. You knew she was ready to like not give a fuck.
Yep.
And it was like, up to you. Would you talk about it? Are you willing to risk it? Right. That's always I know exactly what you're talking about. Okay.
And I was in such an emotional state of being on the precipice. I heard that voice and yet I turned and my mouth started talking and it was like, look, I see something's up and I feel really strange around you. And I actually feel embarrassed when I'm around you because you're giving attention to other people. It doesn't feel right. Tell me what's on your mind. And
right.
She came back with and said, fuck you. We're done.
Nice.
I've been unhappy for years and we're done.
Wow.
Literally.
So the great communicating woman could not handle a conversation, which you were, let's face it, considering what was going on, right? She was cheating, right? She was having sex.
Yes, but I didn't know it.
No, but considering what she knew what was going on, right? So
yeah,
you actually were pretty, You know what I mean? You weren't like I think a lot of the movies and a lot of the, when you read a blog, it's always like the guy's accusing her of cheating, and which drives her to do it. You know, you were the opposite. You were like nice
Yeah.
and like, here you are just kind of hinting at it, like too much attention. And then meanwhile, she's actually going and doing it, right? Which is obviously
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. I didn't, I looking back with, 50,000 foot elevation, all the signs were there, but I didn't want to believe it.
But what were
I
the
didn't
signs?
know.
What were the signs
Huh?
that you ignored?
Well, I'll give you one
This is the good
example. Like
shit,
I
by the
took,
way. It's the specifics.
oh yeah. So one night I took, my oldest boy was in college. And so I took the three boys out. We went up to his school and, we met him, and I took the boys out, and we went to a movie, and we did this stuff, and it was great. And while I was gone, she invited all these people to the house, like this party. She had been out at this local pub, invited like the guy who was singing there, and all these other people. Which that alone, is like a huge red flag. But I'm not a jealous type. I'm
Okay,
for
so
many
inviting like the
reasons.
band to her house.
Yeah, so like the singer and these guys down the street, and this one guy down the street that she was giving a lot of time to, and they would take walks together. Like
All
we
of them
lived
came
out
at
in
the
the
same time.
country. All these people were there.
Oh fuck. Okay.
So dude, I come
Well,
home
that,
and
that makes it
I
confusing
come
too.
around, huh?
I said that makes it confusing too, because it's not just one guy. You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah,
a
there's
bunch
a
of guys.
whole
Okay.
guys and girls there.
Yeah.
And so, like it's a party atmosphere, and that's cool. So I come in and I come around the corner and I see her with this guy down the street, and they're like absolutely like hip to hip, shoulder to shoulder, like you would stand with your boyfriend or girlfriend, like a physical display of
Where were they?
connection and
They were like
affection.
hidden in another room or in the backyard or.
Yeah, they were in another room. So it's like one of the rooms in the house was like a
Ooh.
family room, and there'd
So
be
they weren't in the
parties in
main
there.
room.
And
Okay. They were hiding.
yeah, so I can't, not hiding, because they weren't hiding from me, because she didn't know I was home. So she was just
Oh.
going about enjoying herself, and all these people, and they're playing. And I remember this because vinyl was coming back, so they were playing vinyl on the turntable. And
Right.
so I just come in the house. No one hears me because the music's going. I walk in. There's all different people, and I see that. And eventually she notices me and moves away. And so I said the next morning, I was really quiet, and she said, "What's up?" And I said, "Hey, look, I want to talk to you about this. This is what I saw, and this is the gas." And she says, "That didn't happen. It literally didn't happen. I don't know what you're talking about."
So let's just
And I
stop
was
there.
like,
You were like basically like, when she said that, I can just guess that you were just burning inside like so much pain, because it's one thing that your girlfriend is looking at another guy, right? It's another thing if your wife is looking at another guy. It's another thing if the mother of your children is looking at another guy. It's another thing if it's in your house, and it's another thing if you think it's actually more. Like it's like, and then all that
yeah,
kind of building up, right? And then plus you're being like bald-faced lied to, like a used car salesman, right? And you're just
yeah,
like,
yeah,
I think it's different. I think there's two things here. I just want to say real quick, there's a subtle difference here.
mm-hmm.
Is when you tell a girl, like let's say you're actually doing something and then she catches you, you say, I wasn't doing that. There's a way to do it that's not gaslighting,
Right.
where she knows you're doing it and she's just like, okay, he's doing it, but he's being smart about it. You know what I mean? It's another thing when you're
Mm-hmm.
trying to actually get the person to think that you actually didn't do it. You know what I'm saying? There's a
Yeah, it's
there's
a classic trait of a narcissist, by the way.
like trying to
Look it up.
cover it up.
Gaslighting.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I've done a lot of research. I've learned a lot. And look, guys out there are going to hear this story and they're going to say, "Man, was this guy in a shit situation?" Well, I was, and I'm here to admit it. And if 20, 50 other guys out there find themselves feeling these things or seeing these things, don't kid yourself, man. It's real. It's worse than you think.
Well, what would you do if you could
And
go back? Would you tell your friends? Would you like if you like, how would you handle it? Like now, would you kind of like, you couldn't have done any better, or would you have left, right then? Or what? It's so fucking hard to
I
know
know,
what
I
to
know.
do.
Yeah. In hindsight, I know what I would do is that
What would you do?
I would have saw all these things. I would have literally written them down like in a log book for time and place. I
Nice.
would have talked
Nice.
to a lawyer, on the side, no, not where the funds could be traced through a mutual account. Go to a lawyer. I would gather all my data. I'd be a total ninja, a stealth mode, and I'd evaluate all my options, and then I would say, this is what has been going on, and I'm leaving you, and here's your divorce papers. Now, I
Okay, so
realized that
you would
would
have
have
written it
disrupted
down, the
my kids'
specific.
lives.
What's that?
Absolutely, because, when it becomes he said, she said, especially someone who was in my situation where I was gaslighted and things are going fast and she's talking fast, I can calmly always revert to my personal logbook of events. And the other thing about that is when you start to write that shit down, it makes you think about it and see it. You're like, holy shit, I've got 20
Right.
pages of stuff here in 1 month. Like, what fucking kind of life am I leading? It took me, 20 something years of you was referring to all this pain. Like when I saw her with this guy,
Yeah.
it's unfucking imaginable.
Oh,
Dude, I realize how tough I was, that I took so much pain, and it even gets worse once I found out she was cheating with my cousin.
oh
I
my God.
I manned up and I said, okay, I can go one of two routes here. I can go full fucking medieval on this guy and beat his ass.
Right.
And then I'm going to go to jail. I'm going to lose the house to the kids. She'll move back in the house. He'll move in with her. So I had to be as cagey and as stealthy and hold and control my emotions. All that martial arts training saved my ass.
So basically,
And
be a black box, right? That's what you're doing.
yes, dude.
Yeah.
Fucking blood. That video is the greatest video of all time. Absolutely. That's what I'm telling all the guys listening to my story. Yeah.
I'll put it below. Yeah,
See?
that's so important.
Yep.
Writing it
Yep.
down. I had a situation and I called all my friends. I was trying to get advice. And one of my friends, who's like 65 years old, very smart guy, he said exactly what you said. He said, write things down, put them into a PDF, get a timestamp on them, and
Yep.
get them so that you can refer to them later without a lot of emotion. You've got them written down. And I just want to say, I want to add in here is that it is unbelievably common what you're talking about, actually, in real life.
I know.
Very, very common. So the knee-jerk reaction, if you're listening to this, is like, oh, I'd never do that. That guy's an idiot. This is a common reaction, and it's a normal reaction. This is the way you will react as a guy. You'll be like, I wouldn't do that. That guy made some mistakes, whatever. But the thing is that this is like, I'm sitting here in the hills, right, Hollywood Hills, and I'm looking at the families here and couples and stuff. I can see it right around me. I mean, it's like, it's not, this is so common, and it's I think it's the contracts and the children and all these things that cause us to make it's the in previous investment trap, basically. Not willing to leave, not willing to talk about it, not willing to bring it up when you knew she was going to leave, right? That was, I think that was,
it's embarrassing as hell.
well, it seems like it but I don't think, if something's that common, I just don't think it'd be embarrassing. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I really don't think so. Like, the only reason why other guys don't talk about it or don't is because they just can't face it. They can't face what you're facing, and so they can go on and they can think that they're fine, right? It's like an alcoholic who's drinking too much. And as long as he just keeps on drinking and doesn't admit he's an alcoholic, he can go to his grave and he's not an alcoholic, right? You know what I mean? Because
you go ahead.
So like you talking about it and being honest about it is like, I can tell you this. One thing I learned, like just being with all those women in my life, is that so many of them were married. So many of them were in relationships, and they often don't tell me till later. You know what I mean? They'll be like, after like a 3-day weekend of just like really raunchy good times, she'll say, I got to go back to my husband. I'll be like, your husband? Really? Okay. You know, and it's like, I just
It
got used
is so crazy, but it happens all the time.
dude,
I
it
get hit on
happens.
by married women all the time. It's crazy.
It's and I don't want to blame them. I just want to say like this channel is not about blaming women. It's about guys making better decisions and being honest with themselves.
Absolutely.
You know, that's what it's about, really.
Absolutely.
You can't control what other people do. You're not. I mean, you're not a worse man or a better man because you picked a woman who didn't do that, or you know what I mean. Like, it's like, what can you do? Like your children, they're going to live the lives they're going to live, right? You do your best.
Yeah.
Like in the end,
Yeah.
if we could control people, we would, but we can't. You know, so
Yeah. But I think that I agree with you that what's going on now with the internet and global communication, this men's movement, MGTOW, all this stuff, is men are waking up and having conversations like this, and we're all evolving. We're all helping every other guy evolve to a higher and higher level. And, to blame women, that's not the thing. It's we need to wake up and see what's going on and learn how to make better decisions, learn how to evaluate things and make ballsier and higher level decisions. And I do think that women, ultimately, when guys around them, everywhere they look, they're evolved and they're not falling for these games, they're probably going to start to evolve themselves. So
of
I think
course.
it's a 1-2 punch.
Oh, yeah, there's
My
no doubt
opinion.
about it, Rick. That's the whole thing about evolution is that it's a do or die thing. It's a live or die. It's you won't have kids.
Mm-hmm.
You don't evolve. You won't survive if you don't evolve. Definitely the movement we're in now. I just call it like the manosphere. I like the manosphere term, but like the
Right.
manosphere, which I
Right.
consider all the men's movements, and I don't
Mm-hmm.
discriminate against any of them. I like them all. You know, I've said before,
Right.
I love MRAs. You know, guys like Paulie
Mm-hmm.
Long. I hear a lot of bad stuff about him, but I look at
Right.
his videos. I learn a
Yep.
lot. I appreciate when someone teaches me something that I didn't maybe even want to know. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't quite ready, and then he
Yeah.
was ready, and that helped me to be ready.
Right.
That's what 12-step groups are all about. Is somebody will say, some new guy will come in. He can't be honest with himself, but some other guy speaks and says all the embarrassing things he did. Like woke up with his pants down, and the neighborhood kids trying to pull it up. The guy fell asleep in the
Mm.
elevator. Of and all the neighbors saw him. Another guy, just did all kinds of crazy stuff, right? And this is the stuff that when you listen to that is what helps you to be honest with yourself about your situations.
Absolutely. Totally.
Right. So okay. So you got out of it. Any other things you can remember back that were like stinging moments that you want to talk about, or nothing?
Well, yeah, when I was, once I found out my wife was cheating with my cousin who lived like 500 miles away. So this is not something I saw.
Okay.
And she was going away. She was telling me she was going away with the girls to New York City a couple of times. And there was this thing where she had been a stay-at-home mom, and she's like, "Hey, I want to get more worldly, so I want to get out there and challenge myself." And I was like, "Awesome, yeah, absolutely, do that." Well, I didn't realize that she was just going to a hotel down in Pennsylvania where this guy is and banging him. And
So she was using basically like let's get to the specifics. She was basically saying like, here you are. She's taking care of your kids. She's being a good mother. Whatever. And you're like, I'm
yeah,
happy with that. And then she's saying, I really want to do more in life. I want to be more. I want to see more. And then you were encouraging her to do that and saying, hey,
yeah,
I
yeah,
I appreciate that, and I'm okay with that. Like, so she was using that, and it's total obviously knife in your back, right? But you were being like super
yeah,
nice, because in the end we can't control the people, right? We can only control
absolutely.
ourselves. And you were being pretty cool. Like this is not how people talk about men. It's always like men are controlling, men are this. You were being like, okay, you want to go do stuff, go to New York with your friends, that's cool, go have fun,
Absolutely.
find out who
Yeah.
you are and
So,
all that.
yeah, I was all for it. And, eventually, I guess what happened was she got hammered. She spilled the beans to my future daughter-in-law,
She got
who
drunk?
now had the burden of knowing what she was really doing. And my oldest son was with her, and she wouldn't tell him. And, a month later, he's like, look, I know something's driving you fucking crazy. What is it? And she's like, oh, all right, here you go. So now my son knows, and he's like, well, what the fuck? Do I tell my dad or what, So about a month after that, we were riding around. Him and I used to work together, and I was telling him something, and he said, "Dad, you got to pull over. I got to tell you something."
Right.
And so, here we are sitting here. He goes, "Do you think Mom would ever lie to her kids or you?" And I was like, "No." And he goes, "Well, hold on to your hats." He told me the whole story that she's going down there banging this guy, my cousin, and you want to talk about, like, I felt everything at once, like disbelief, horror, shame, hurt. I almost felt like I was like collapsing in on myself. So like I was like this foot high, like, version of myself.
Right.
And I had to go back to work after that. So
And here it's your son too, which is like even more, like more complications, right, in emotions.
Yeah.
Because you don't
And
want to teach your son
she
that.
lied to them too. So.
Right. Right.
So I had to deal with, all right. So once that was out in the open, she still lived in the house. She moved to a separate part of the house and said, I'm crazy. I've got some sort of mental deficiency. I got to figure out what it is. So she kind of put the excuse was that there was a mental thing going on,
Did she say she was a sex addict, or was she using some kind of like?
She didn't say that. She just, it's hard to remember because, dude, it was so utterly painful that, and I was like, okay, so you're telling me you've got some sort of psychological break and you're going to figure this out, and somehow we're going to have to face this thing. So she said she would go to this, like, psychiatrist guy. And I was like, all right. And she's living in the other part of the house. But, dude, I would fucking hear her on the phone because she was drinking a lot. And her voice, Irish whisper, would get louder. And I would hear her say stuff to my cousin on the phone that was, like, literally blood-curdling, Like, for example, I just wish I was lying down with you right now. Or I can't wait till we own this barn and live together. And I would hear this stuff. But I kind of hear it like echoey, and
Right.
did I really hear that?
She was drunk when she was doing that, right?
She was really pounding it. And, like get this, I have to step up and take care of everything now. I don't have her help. And she's in my house, and she's falling apart and drinking and disappearing with this guy, and it's going fucking south fast. And
she probably
soul,
didn't
my heart. Huh?
She probably didn't know how to deal with it. She had created this life for herself, and now she can't. It's like she wants her cake and eat it too, right? She wants you to be normal again.
Yep.
And then she wants to continue doing what she's doing, right?
Yep. And I looked at my kids because my kids knew before I did, and I'm looking at her, and I'm like, well, this is a woman I've loved for 20-something years, and I was wounded beyond all belief, betrayed by my own family, her and my cousin. And, I called him up and I said, dude, this is what I fucking heard. I'm going to give you one chance to come clean.
Right,
and if you tell me the truth, you'll live. If you lie to me, you're fucking dead. And he's like, nope, she comes down here. She just needs to get away. She says she needs to find herself and all this and that. Nothing's going on. I said, better be the fucking truth, buddy. Well, he lied to me too. And I have not seen him to this day. So, I mean, that's a whole other story. But I will tell you, in the end, I divorced her. I got my shit together. I've been through so much emotional pain with her that I can tell you, I remember a day driving home from Home Depot when this was all going on brand new, and every single breath in my chest hurt. And I remember thinking, it was a beautiful day. It was like Memorial Day weekend. And I'm thinking, I'm going to feel this way for the rest of my life. I'm never going to have another breath that doesn't hurt. And everything I loved just
Oh man.
deflated out of me. And I was like, football, Pink Floyd movies, Ancient Alien show, like nothing. I lost interest. I lost 40 pounds. I looked like a fucking Auschwitz guy, you know? And here
Wow.
I am taking care of the kids, the house, all the finances, taking care of her, getting cheated on, hearing it. It was happening right in front of me. Picture the person you love most in your life doing all that, lying to you right in front of you. I had a front row seat to the whole thing.
Oh
So,
man. Oh man. So this was
so
7 years ago?
2011, buddy. Yep.
Right,
Yep. I
right.
found out in March, and I found out in March, and the story of Home Depot was in May, so it was like 2 months in. And I made a vow to myself and my kids. I said, look, I'm gonna, first of all, she can do whatever she wants, but I'm responsible. I put myself in that position, and I said, I'm gonna show you guys that you can you can evolve from anything, and you can make your life better and deal with anything. And I'm going to do it, and I'm not going to spend time blaming her. I'm going to work on myself. And you know, two of them were in college, one was in high school. I said, I'm going to, for the next 5 years, we're not going to lose this house, and your mom can do whatever she wants, but we're going to make it work. And
Wow.
dude, 5 years of fucking pain, but every year I get better. Every year I get stronger. I get smarter. And in the end, I divorced her. And I'll tell you a story. When I went down there to file the papers, handed
Yeah.
them over, and they're like, all right, we got to go like record them officially. And you just wait out there, and they don't let you have cell phones in the courthouse. So I'm sitting out there waiting to be called, and no one's calling my name, and time's going by. Finally, I go up to the desk. I'm like, hey, I've been out there like an hour. Did anyone call me? And the lady goes, who are you? And I said, I'm Rick. And she says, I've been calling your wife's name because she goes, I have never seen a guy come down here and file for divorce. It's always the women that do it. So, you know
Whoa.
that whole thing where women are all filing for divorce these days?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was the unicorn, you know. When I divorced her officially 2 years ago, when that court date came, when it was like the judge was walking out, she looked at me in a panic. She's like, I can't do this. She goes, I started laughing. I said, so what'd you have in mind? She goes, do you want to just run out of here? And I was just laughing because by that point I was completely in my new self in my own world and gone from her. And, you know, it was like a 2-minute thing. We used a mediator, so we had no attorneys. And when that was done, I just walked out of the courthouse, never looked back. And so for any guys listening to this, you can get your ass handed to you emotionally, spiritually, driven into the fucking ground. And if you make the choice to man up and learn and talk to your brothers out there and you know, join the manosphere, don't be too proud to take advice from other guys. You can absolutely learn. You can make your life better than you ever imagined. And that's what I did.
You know, if you're listening, if you're listening, guys, like, I hope you're inspired by this, because this is a story, like a painful story that happened to Rick, and it's like happens to so many guys. And the honesty that Rick had and shared, and also much more importantly is the strength and the final success of the story. And I have a couple of other friends. I could tell you one quick story. Rick is a friend of mine. He came into his house, and his wife was actually having sex with another guy that he knew, and in front of him. And
Oh yeah.
and then what happened was they had two kids together. And so he called me for advice. Actually, came to visit me when I was in Shanghai, and I didn't say anything. I didn't give him any particular advice because this is kind of stuff you have to decide yourself. But what happened was he went home. very calmly and coolly. He's a pilot, he's a successful young guy. He's got a great job. He's really smart, and he speaks Chinese perfectly, and he flies private jets. And he just basically very unceremoniously left her, and then he moved to Hong Kong, and he found a really nice girl that he liked, and he got married to her and had a couple of kids. And I see him on Facebook all the time. And the girl that originally cheated on him, it was just a totally meaningless thing. You know what I mean? And she's like,
Yeah.
she definitely, this is a case where she did not win at all, because yeah, she didn't get anything that she wanted at all. And I think if she could go back in time, there's no way she would do what she did. But the thing is that your actions have consequences, and that's the way it should be. I think a lot of people are so afraid of upsetting the apple cart that when someone does something, they're just so easy to forgive. I think it's super important just to have boundaries and have like things that you consider acceptable and don't consider acceptable, and then not to make a big deal out of it, but just to get out of the situation. And then, like you said, to write things down before you go, and then just to get out of there, and then make new choices. Right? It's as simple as that.
Yeah, once the moment you realize your partner is gone into that area that you can never live with again, your black box video is the best one to watch, because that person is your enemy spiritually, physically, and financially from that moment on. So everything you do, you've got to play it close to the vest. I told you the 5 years, I planned everything. I kept feeding her suggestions on how to financially divorce. And what I did, it's a style that always benefit her. Because if I suggested something benefiting me, it would automatically be attacked. So you're dealing with your absolute worst enemy. The person you loved the most, and it was great in the beginning, now is a wholly different entity. And you have to be the smartest and cagiest you've ever been while you're hurting the most in your life.
That's a tough combo, man. That is a tough combo. But I think that every man is up to this. I really do. I think that every man can reach inside himself and do this. It's self-protection. We survived, millions of years in evolution because we were capable of doing these things. We were capable of doing whatever was required of us. We are the ones who were capable. And so many, obviously millions of species, and also millions and millions of human beings, billions of human beings couldn't do, right? So they didn't make it, right? They either killed themselves, or they didn't, they didn't survive to mate and all that. So, I mean, obviously, don't get me wrong. I don't think that mating is now our goal. I think that evolution, I'm talking about to get us to this point. Now, in today's world, the thing to do is to be smart for yourself, and to make smart decisions, and to be good to other people too. I mean, obviously, being good to your friends and anybody that you're with, you want to be good to them, right? But at this point, when you find out they're your enemy, that's when you have to change your mind. You have to go into stealth mode. You have to. You cannot be honest anymore. You cannot. It's you have to pat yourself on the back and give yourself like, hey, things are different now. For this short period, I'm going to have to live a different kind of situation here. And it's not going to last forever, but I have to protect myself. I have to document things. I have to talk to smart people. I have to get good legal advice. I have to be intelligent about the whole thing, right? And not emotional.
You really do. And and again, it's at the time where your nerve endings are exposed to the world. And, that's why I think that these men's groups are phenomenal, because you could be in the depths of what I was going through and reach out to one of these groups, and probably 500 guys will respond and say, look, dude, I've been there. Trust me on this. Just follow me for the next few months and I'll get you through this. And, we're social creatures. No man is an island. Like everybody admires like the independent, like Clint Eastwood, right? He's like this guy solo, and does everything on his own, but it really doesn't work that way. You need other people to be on your team. We're a social species.
Right. Right. It includes women too. You know, like we interact with women all the time. We have mothers, you know, we have sisters, we have, you know, like coworkers or whatever, you know, employees. We have situations where we need to, you know, I think the general thing is to up your game in every area of your life, you know, and also your ability to relate to human beings and to communicate and to be honest with yourself too. It all kind of, I think it's like the perfect storm, basically. Like if you look at some people, right, you meet some guy after 10 years, you haven't seen him, or say it's high school or whatever. I can tell you this, the guy either went up or he went down.
True.
You know what I'm saying? Like he either went up or down, and we're always either going up or down. So do you want to go up or do you want to go down?
Yeah. I think what you said, you got to be honest with yourself. And that sounds easy to say, but you can deceive the shit out of yourself, especially in affairs of the heart. You can trick yourself. Not easy to do, but it definitely can be done.
You know.
And I'll add to it.
Yeah.
Go ahead. You go.
No. Go.
So I was going to say, like, when you have been through the ringer of that kind of situation and you evolve and you come out the other side and you're stronger and you know yourself as a man and the world is out there just waiting for you to do whatever you're going to do, your relationships with women become a shitload better. Because you understand them, you understand yourself, and all the things you couldn't see or were afraid to address before are now self-evident. You can see it a mile away. So you can be less threatened by it. You can have fun with women. You can just enjoy them for the company that they are and not get trapped in all the things you would have prior to your learning phase.
Right. Just seeing how things progress too, you know, like it gives you that kind of helicopter view that, you know, that you can see where you want to go in this situation, you know, like it's so true, man. It's so true. It's the wisdom you get from this. I'm sure like you're a completely different person now. And I can hear it in your voice. Like as we're ending, I can hear your voice like opening up. You're like, hell yeah. You know, I can take a fucking torpedo and refix my, you know, reheal myself and fucking move on, you know? And
oh yeah, it's another world. It's great. When you get to this point, you're like, I don't know, like you've matched the universe and what you're supposed to be in the way men are designed, and you're supposed to evolve to that point. And when you fucking get there, you're fucking bulletproof. I mean, yeah, shit can happen, you know, like accidents and the stock market crashes and all that bullshit, but you'll never not know what it is to be a man, and you'll have the spiritual and emotional strength to tackle anything. And I mean fucking anything. It's an amazing place to be. I wouldn't have got there if I hadn't have gone through all that other stuff. So I look at it now, I'm like, thank God it happened. Made me who I am today. Thank fucking God I went through that situation.
Well, I think too that you have provided a great example to your children and to all the people in your family, and even your cousin. You know, like you basically have taken control of your life in a good way and done the things that you felt responsibility for, and like that's something that cannot be bought. You know, like a lot of guys are hiding. They have a lot of issues. They're afraid of facing things. And what I always say, and I really believe this, Rick, is that everybody knows who you are. Okay? Now that you've been through this, if you see a friend in a situation, you're going to know exactly where he's at because you're honest with yourself. So you're going to be like, that fucking guy can't face it. You know what I mean? Like, he's not ready for that, or he doesn't want to see it, or he doesn't want to, whatever it is. It could be a friendship. It could be not a romantic thing or whatever, a girl. But you know, as you improve yourself, you get this kind of like X-ray vision of other people too, which also makes you kind of a leader for other people because they're like, they see you as somebody who's wise. You know, you just kind of see through things. You don't need to, you're not fooled by things so easily. You know, you can kind of see, okay, And just the fact of not even the act of what happened or marriage or relationships, just the fact that you came to grips with something very, very difficult allows you to come, it builds that muscle of coming to grips with things like death, and disease and things that are really the real issues in life, like death to me, like the end of our life, that's the fucking biggest thing. And I see so many people who literally don't know how to say goodbye to anybody. They don't know how to, they're so afraid of like dying and so afraid of the reality of life that they don't face it. They can't face it. Like for me, I've really thought about all this stuff and gone through so many things that it's like, I know I'm going to die. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, fuck, I know I'm going to die.
Right.
And I'll probably die in a lot of pain because most people don't die painlessly. Right. But at the same time, like, I also know that is the cycle of life. And I'm glad to have this fucking cycle of life. Like, I'm glad that I'm going to go through me. Like, because there is no other way. There's no fairy with the fucking wand floating around there. I want to live this life the best I fucking can and enjoy it. And even through whatever happens, which will happen, right? It's going to happen to me. It's going to happen to my friends. It's going to happen. You know what I mean? And just to know that I'm capable of handling everything life throws at me. And I think in the end, that's what it's all about. It's not even about relationships. It's about life is hard. And it's like being able to handle tough things is what allows you to handle other tough things, and hiding from things is what makes you weaker and weaker and weaker. And it makes you feel terrible, and the opposite is that you just feel like no matter what happens, you're like, money, no money, war or no war, you know what I mean? Disease or no disease. It's like, I did the best I fucking could,
Yeah. I think, one thing, the path to, say, enlightenment and truth and self-knowledge is feel all the pain you're going to feel. Don't hide from it. Let it fucking rip through your body because it's totally honest. And then you have, like, after that pain comes a moment of like utter calmness where you can assess things, listen to your voice, say, okay, this is what I need to evolve. But if you keep avoiding that pain and keep compartmentalizing it and pushing it over here and justifying it, dude, that bill is coming. One way or another, you got to pay that fucking bill in your lifetime. So just let it come. You can deal with anything.
Yeah, that's awesome advice, man. That is fucking awesome advice, to accept the pain and realize it's like you're gonna pay the bill. Like, it's kind of like sitting in a restaurant waiting for the bill to come because it's too high. The bill's gonna come,
Exactly.
The fucking bill is gonna come. Like, no matter how long you sit there, and if you order more stuff, the bill's only gonna be worse, right? It's like the bill is gonna come in life, and it's just like accepting that, hey, I'm gonna get up, I'm gonna take care of this thing, I'm gonna pay the price, whatever this is, and then I'm gonna learn. I'm gonna move on. So fucking awesome, Greg. That is so awesome. Great ending.
It goes
too,
both ways. Oh yeah, absolutely. Even my ex-wife out there, she's on her own journey, and the things that she did in her situation also are going to be defining moments in her life. Like, she's going to have to face that. The bill's coming due and payable someday. And,
for sure.
It's not just guys evolving and women are clueless idiots running around doing whatever they want. They're on an evolutionary path too. And, I don't think that either sex can evolve without the other. So, I get MGTOW, like the whole thing, men going their own way. But to me, that's not abandoning women to just, like, I don't know, become lesbians, all of them together. It's we evolve, and then they see it, and then they evolve. And then, each sex raises the other sex up. I hope.
Yeah, no, I can see that. Yeah, I mean, everybody listening has a different perspective, and they're in a different situation in their life, maybe a different phase. So I say welcome all guys. Like, and I've noticed too that there's more women listening and commenting and saying that the podcast helped them a lot too. So that's fine too. It's like, take what you like and leave the rest. But it's Man, I'm sorry. I really appreciate you getting into that stuff, man. That is a fucking that is stuff that is not easy to talk about. And but the funny thing is I bet you feel fucking better. Like I feel better now too, just listening to you. You know, like I'm like
Absolutely.
I feel like fuck, this was amazing. Like conversation. Like I realize how I feel right now. I'm just like, whoa, I almost don't want it to end. You know, but we got to end it.
No, I get it.
All right, Rick. Well, thanks for being on, man. I really appreciate your fucking your life. You know, like I hope I can learn some things. I'm going to listen to this again myself too. So I appreciate you sharing your wisdom there, and everybody listening. You know, fuck, it's you're up for anything, man. You might not know it, you might not feel like it, but you are. You're built with it. You evolved to be like that. You know, and so don't worry about it. Nobody ever has the roadmap. I'm sure if I talked to Rick like 6 years ago, 5 years ago, it'd be a totally different story. And, he'd be like, I don't know, oh, man, or in the middle of the whole thing, but it's like in the end, it's not that it's easy, but it's that you're capable and that you'll feel better and you'll make better decisions. So either way, thanks for being on and thanks for listening, guys. And Ronin Man signing off.